So here I am again in Cosa, in Tuscany, in this site which displays beautiful polygonal walls. Now this is obviously not one of the best parts, but curiously it's a wall that's inside the site, the outer wall, just to be proper. We are already inside the main door, main entrance, which I show you in a second. You see there's another piece of wall going that way, and the main entrance is just around the corner down there. I'll just show you the entrance. Now it's about the 10th time I come to this site in the past 5 or 6 years, and every time there's this new surprise. And the surprise of this time is that apparently we cannot walk along the outer walls from the main entrance. So I hope we can go the other way, because there's another door I'll show you in a while. You see these are clearly polygonal walls, polygonal stones. This is the gate, and here is the outer wall. That is one part of it. It's beautiful with huge blocks of stone. And there's the other part, which I believe we can walk coming from the other way. They want you to go to the ticket office now, which is about 200 meters from here, inside the walls, which I never went to because it appears to be like an open site. There is no real ticket office here in the entrance, so I just walked in all the times and walked around. I thought that you had to buy a ticket just for if you wanted a guide or something, or there's a museum as well. But apparently now I'll walk up and see if they stop me. I'll pay a ticket, otherwise I won't, because it's anyway private land. There's a lot of olive trees and they're still harvested here, so there's no real reason why I should pay for a ticket. But of course they have to do some maintenance, which is very little, as you can see, but just cut the grass and that's about it. A few blocks of stone, but we will see more along the outer wall. The only part of the outer wall which can be visited today, which is about 300 meters long. There is a total of 1.5 kilometers of outer walls, but most of it is just jungle. It's really hard to reach, and there's a few gates. Over the years I found more and more of them, but apparently we'll see what is still visible today. Okay, we were able to get the ticket, which costs for the visit of the site €0, but they still make your ticket. And I heard that we can visit the outer wall, which I'll show you in the end. Anyway, in the meantime, we are at the top little capital, and here we have 2 buildings, or let's say 2 platforms, built on polygonal walls. This is the first, which is very destroyed. There's not much left, but you can still see some of the polygonal walls on the bottom. And it is the other one, which is much larger, and also has some walls which were from later periods. I'll show you now. There's, as usual, 3 different styles of constructions. The first are the big walls, like the one here. I'll show you better parts in a short while. Then we have the Roman style with small stones, and then we have those huge walls there, which are made out of bricks, because apparently there was a time when there was even a church here, so a little bit of everything. Anyway, this is one of the platforms, which with Roman walls on top and polygonal walls on the bottom. Here you can see a mixture of huge stones and Roman style blocks, small blocks with a mortar like this one, It's got some mortar in it. And here we have the best part of the well-preserved polygonal wall, which in this place goes up to almost 3 meters, I'd guess. And this is the best wall. I'll show you from a little bit of a distance. I don't know why they've added these strange red arrows, which really look ugly, but well, that's part of the work being done here to, I guess, have a way for the people to know where they are or something. Anyway, here we have one of my favorite blocks, which is this one, which is a very, very strange shape. It's not big, I'd guess probably 40-50 centimeters across, but look at the shape. Why would you make a stone block of this shape? This is about the size, just to show you my hand in comparison. So it's not really big, but the shape is really strange. And all the other stones here are polygonal in shape. Here you can also see different construction styles. There's the polygonal wall in the bottom, and here we have something which I would guess either Greek or Roman style, where the blocks are all the same size. And it's also made of another type of stone, because that one is more limestone, the basement, the platform, and this is more sandstone. You see, it's yellow. It's even got some mussels in it, I've noticed at other times. Let me see if I can find one. There is one. You see, there's a mussel, which is part of the stone. And here there's another one, which is part of the stone. So this is definitely sandstone. Nice, but completely different style of construction. It's square blocks. Or rounded blocks, but not polygonal blocks. And anyway, here in the front we have a great view of the sea, of the Argentario Peninsula, and of the so-called Tomboli. And this is the outer wall. There's a drop of about 5-6 meters here, and yeah, it's a beautiful area. Okay, we are here on the top platform, the one we saw the walls from the outside before. There are a series of constructions here, but they are all from a later date. And here there's a part where you cannot go in. There seems to be a water reservoir here, which also doesn't make a lot of sense actually, but it might have been something else. But still, they put all these red arrows, huge arrows everywhere. And this really looks like a water reservoir. Inside the most sacred part. Okay, we are going down from the main platform, and here we have a nicely paved road, which I'm not really sure. Certainly archaeologists will say that's Roman, but I believe it might not have been Roman. It might have been from previous times. And anyway, just to give a quick overview of the site, here there's another wall, so altogether we have one outer wall 1.5 kilometers long, and we have a second wall here which I believe has been dismantled by later cultures to build the rest of the site, and which is just a few hundred meters, maybe 200 meters wide. And then we have the main platform, the two platforms on top, which are the third ring of walls. And this structure with 3 rings of walls I have seen in many sites here in central Italy. Alatri has a similar thing, Norba has a similar thing, And wherever you can still recognize something, you usually find at least two, and most of the times three. The problem is, in most sites, the third on top of the platform has been built a church. So you don't always notice it, but you have to look for the walls of the church. At the bottom of the walls of the church you will find a polygonal platform. And yeah, that's the structure I find in many places here, wherever you can still recognize, because these walls are not really considered anything important by Italian archaeologists, so they are not maintained, they're not cared of, and so, well, most sites are just in the middle of the wood or the Mediterranean forest and all overgrown, so it's not easy to find places. But well, on my documentary Polygonal Walls of Italy, Stone Riddles, you can see many more sites. I wanted to do one live presentation of this one because I often come in this area and it's really close to where I stay when I come here. So here we have another peculiarity of Cosa, which is this water reservoir, or officially that's what it's supposed to be. But the strange thing is that, of course, I don't deny in any way that the Romans took over the place sometime when it's officially dated 300 BC. But the peculiarity here is that you have in this reservoir one wall, which is polygonal in nature. You can see that wall. That's polygonal. And the other walls are typical Roman walls, so some kind of small stones with mortar on them. Both of them actually. Three of them, the third one I cannot show you. So this led to my hypothesis that the second ring, which we passed just a short while ago, was somehow dismantled, and the materials they were able to get from that ring were used to build other Roman style stuff, like this wall here. Why would you make one wall polygonal style and two walls with small stones and mortar? It doesn't really make sense. And you see, if you watch the bottom of that wall, it was even covered with some kind of, I don't know how you call it in English, anyway, some kind of cement, some kind of mortar to make it watertight. So why would you go all the length to make such a complicated wall and then cover it with some cement? And that's one peculiarity here in Cosa. Anyway, I don't deny the Romans were here. We have seen many things which are Roman in nature, and the accounts of the time also speak about this, and we will see in a few minutes a lot of stuff which is Roman, but always in alternation with stuff which is not Roman at all, because Romans didn't build with polygonal walls. So why would they build a building in polygonal masonry and just beside another building in Roman style? It doesn't make any sense. So it makes a lot more sense that parts of what they found was reused, for example, to build these roads. This is the same type of rock, the limestone rock of the polygonal walls, and they were probably, I guess, that's a hypothesis, it was adapted to make this road. And there you can see that's a Roman bath, a piece which is partly collapsed with Roman arches and stuff like that. And that is made with small stones. You see, everything here is small stones and mortar. No big stones. Just the pavement of this road is big stones. And if we move further on, see a lot of small buildings and then some big stones, some canals. You have this one building in particular. That's a Roman wall. Typical. There. And on this side we have a polygonal wall. When we move to the next building, we have polygonal walls on both sides, but the rough part, the inner part, you see, those are big stones, but they are rough. They're not straight line, they're not cut in a nice way, and that's what you find in the inner part of the walls. And then this building, now it's not reachable anymore, too much vegetation, but again you have that wall which is Roman style, and this wall down here which is polygonal. This building is completely made of polygonal walls. Huge stones, really actually quite well cut. Now they just cleaned up and put everything against the wall so that we cannot see them, but we can still see them. I just have to crawl a little bit in the vegetation here. You see the stone? There's 1 ton plus stone here to make a building which is 8 meters in this side and another 6 or 7 on this side. And these are all polygonal stones. And here we have this small little corridor. On the left hand side we have a polygonal wall, and on the right hand side we have a Roman wall. Actually some stones were still used polygonal here on the front side, but the ones along the wall are small. So a lot of incongruences here in Cosa. Things you cannot really explain if you just consider this to be a city built by the Romans in 300 BC, as archaeologists say. It really looks to me like there was something, a city or some fortress or whatever you want to call it, some sacred religious site which had been abandoned, and then the Romans came here, they found a beautiful wall which would help their military purpose to protect their stronghold in Tuscany. So they decided to build their city here, and what they didn't really need from the original walls they reused for other purposes, which were their own purposes to build a city. Okay, and here we get to the second of the 3 gates that this wall has. As you can see, again we are totally in the polygonal masonry style of construction. Now I'll let Deborah go a little bit forward so you can see the size of this gate, which at its highest I'd guess would be 6 or 7 meters high, and it's really impressive, really powerful. And stones are big. I measured last times, I estimated a weight of 2 to 3 tons for some of the blocks, and there's not one of them, there's thousands of them. There's 1,500 meters of walls, just the outer wall, and then we have, as we have just seen, other smaller and shorter inner walls. But there's no doubt about the type of stone, and this is not Roman. I repeat, Romans, there's not one polygonal wall in the whole of Rome. So if Romans would use this type of construction, why wouldn't they do it in Rome, which was their capital city? And some people allegedly believe that these walls had the purpose to be anti-earthquake, and tests have been done by Italian independent researchers showing that they actually are a little bit more resistant to earthquakes, and Italy is an area prone to earthquakes. But still, if this was so important to the Romans, why wouldn't they build such walls in Rome? But they did not. You can see it's really huge. Now I will put on a wide angle to show you the size of this wall. Okay, it doesn't change a lot anyway. You see this stone? This is about 1 meter high and 1.5 meters long, and just one of them, these are stones which have fallen from the original wall, and they are huge. And here there's a fence, so I cannot go any further, but the walls goes on. And some of these blocks are more than 2 or 3 tons. Well, it's always hard to say, you don't know how deep they are, but they're huge. They are almost, I'd not say tall as me, but 1 meter 50. That's about 1 meter 50 or more. And also the interesting thing, look at the joints there, really particular. The interesting thing is that some of the biggest stone may be on the top of the wall, not on the bottom. So that's also anti-intuitive. You would think that the larger the stones, the lower they put them, but that's not the case. Some stones on the top are really big. Like that one. That one is huge. That one is certainly 2 meters wide at its largest. It's really hard to give a sense of scale here, but 2 meters by in its highest part more than 1 meter. That's certainly a 4 or 5 or 6 ton blocks, 6 tons block, and it's about 3 meters high. It's not on the bottom. Actually, these stones on the bottom are much smaller than the big ones on the top. So a lot of questions and few answers, and certainly the answers we get from archaeologists are not satisfying, at least not for me. Then you can just believe, but that's not really part of the scientific method. There's Deborah on top of the wall. Just to give you a sense of scale. Actually, I can show you now the size of the blocks close to her. Okay, so you get the feeling how big those stones are. Okay, in conclusion, since that's probably the reason why you watch this video, I will film a part of the walk along this wall so you can get a feeling of the size and the length. It's always between 5 and 7 meters tall, and there's a lot of stones, of fallen stones here, so you know for sure that it was taller. The blocks are all, not all big, but the joints are really interesting. And of course many people say, well, a polygonal wall was easier to build because you could just adapt each stone when you broke it down, or even already broken stones, you could adapt them to your purpose. But again, I say, look at this stone. I mean, if that was the way they made it, it means that each stone had to fit the others. And that's unbelievable to do over 1,500 meters of wall. And this is not a very long one. I've seen 3 kilometers long walls. So that means, okay, I have my stone, I cut away a piece so that it fits the others. Then I test it, I put it in its place and see if it works. If it doesn't, I take it down again, I cut it a bit more on the right angle, and then I put it up again. And you would do that for each one of all these stones. That would take not a lifetime, 10 lifetimes to do. And you see, now it's, I mean, if it's as old as I believe, it's been broken down, it has survived many, many earthquakes. And you see, even the stone angles, the stones at the angle of the wall. Here the wall changes direction. And you can see that the stone has been cut precisely to adapt to the angle. This and also that one. And that one as well, the lower one. You see, I come from here and then I turn around, and you see that the stone has 2 directions. And so to adapt each stone to its proper position, that would be crazy. That would be completely crazy. And furthermore, okay, here you could say, well, they're not that precise. It's true. Today, they're not that too precise. Also, the stone is some kind of limestone, so it's not a very hard stone. Look at this one. I've never seen that one. I've never noticed that one. A really particular shape. So, okay, people may say, well, it's not that precise, so they might have done it that way. Okay, if you watch it, and there would be only this wall in the whole of the world, that could be an objection which you can hardly say something against it. But then you go to Peru and you see the same kind of walls, but made this time in basalt or granite, and they are perfect to the millimeter or even less. So now what do you say? They did the same there as well. They cut, they used already broken stones and adapted each one to the others. So again, I repeat, that would mean setting up a stone at 5 meters height, check if the angles are correct. If they're not, take it down again, carve it a little bit more, put it up, and go on like this until the whole wall was built. Again, vai lungo il muro, just to show you, to give you a sense of scale, the size of these stones. Really huge. And it's not one, it's not two, it's thousands of them. I did an estimation, well, I don't remember anymore, but I did an estimation of the whole volume of stones which has been used to build these walls, and it was in the thousands of square cubic meter. Sorry, thousands of cubic meter. Look at these stones. Guardi un attimo. I mean, Deborah is 1.60 meters high. Look at these stones. Here is a part where the wall is a little bit lower. It's just 3.5 meters or something. But it just goes on and on. This is just 300 meters of the wall which can be visited today. The others are not clean, so it's really... I mean, I went visiting other parts, but you don't really see much because there's plenty of vegetation and trees and bushes and any kind of thing that doesn't allow you to get too close. Another strangely shaped one. Another. This one may look small, but vai vicino a questo. You don't really get a sense of scale. There's no human around it. It's not a small stone. It's got a very strange shape. You see, like an inverse L or something. It's not huge, but it's big. And this is the elephant head. I call this one the elephant head because it looks a little bit like an elephant. This alone has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 edges. All straight, but it's 9 of them. And one thing I didn't mention, there's 18 small turrets. One rounded, but that's a later thing from the Romans, I believe, or even later, because it's not made of polygonal walls. But there's 18 of these turrets around the wall, and that's one of them. All the others are on the other side, which is not visible today, cannot be visited. It's too much in the forest, in the bushes. Anyway, there's one of the turrets, which again doesn't really make sense. Why would you make a turret outside the wall and not inside or along the wall? Salve.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. It's another one with a strange shape. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. Okay, and here we are again at the entrance, which you've seen before. My name is Mirko. Thanks for watching.